I describe myself basically as a father and a husband first, and everything else comes after that. It's just one of these things where I came from a family where family mattered. You know, usually the family comes first.
Ola pakahuila, I kane o he kaho I lau na hilani wahi. Me kahua apua kea, kalahia o malulani, a me ki anu ke kolau. Ola pakahuila, I kane o he kaho I lau ni mahi hilani wahi. Me kahua apua kea, kalahia o malulani, a me ki anu ke kolau. Kaulana mai ne, ko lau poko hua a kahuila I kane ohe. Me ka hua apua kea ka lahi o malulani, a me ki anu o ke kolau. Hano mo ka pui ka ehu kahi te tua motu a ohe e ia. Me ka hua apua kea ka lahi o malulani, a me ki anu o ke kolau. O kahi mea ho mahe Heʻeia kau mea kalakalepa leo nahe nahe. Me ka ua apua kea, kala ia o malulani, a me ki anu o ke kolau. Hahina ia mai, ana tapua na ua a kahuila a I kane ohe. Me ka ua apua kea, kala ia o malulani, a me ki anu o ke kolau. Hahina ia mai ana tapuana ua a kahuila I kane ohe. Me ka ua apua kea, kalahia o malulani, a me ki anu o ke kolau. Kalahia o malulani, a me ki anu o ke kolau.
In my family, music runs pretty deep. Just looking at how my father treated his music, I mean, we had an instrument in every room. My dad was a very, very good singer. He had his own band at one time, and he performed back in the 20s and the 30s with Johnny Noble, the Hawkshaw Howl band, which was, I guess, a dance band which was featured at the old Young Hotel, Alexander Young Hotel, down on Bishop Street. And he was always playing music, I guess when he was very young. He was caught up in this tradition with his mother and his tutu, where they would go from house to house in the evening after work and serenade the neighbors. This is a tradition which you no longer hear or see anywhere, but it was the life that he knew. The one song that I'm known for is a song called ʻUlili, and it was a song which I had first heard sung by the Hula Hawaiians back in the mid-50s. They came out with a recording. I think it was them. It was either them or it was the Kamehameha School's Alumni Glee Club. And I heard a number of reincarnations of that song, and the best reincarnation I heard of it was put together by Gabby folks, Gabby and the Sons of Hawaii. And I just loved hearing that song when I was a teenager, and I learned all the words to that. So by the time I was attending Kamehameha schools, it was part of my repertoire, but it was also part of the Kamehameha schools repertoire, and the entire student body knew this song. So that when you get up at Kamehameha during Alumni Week, you can sing the song and everybody will sing it with you. It's just one of these songs which just resonates with the Hawaiians.
ʻUlili holo holo kākai o ia kai wala Nā Mele. ʻUlili holo holo kākai o ia kai wala Nā Mele. One ana kole hui kole Heʻeia ki mai e kai o hia aina ua vei vei i hupi puhi me ke ona ona. ʻUlili ʻUlili holo holo kākai o ia kai wala Nā Mele. ʻUlili holo holo kākai o ia kai wala Nā Mele. One ana kole kahi manu no ai kai ia hi makalahe o ke kaho ia kai wala Nā Mele. ʻUlili ho'i ʻUlili holo holo kākai o ia kai wala Nā Mele. ʻUlili holo holo kākai o ia kai wala Nā Mele.
Pane Mai was written by Robert Cazimero. And I admire Robert so much. I've always admired him from the time we were in high school together. Not that he knew me when I was in high school, because he was like 3 or 4 years older than me. But Robert is so good, you never notice how good he is at doing everything, including writing. And this one song, Pane Mai, is one of the best songs that I consider I've ever learned or heard or learned. And it's straight ahead men singing. It's just straight ahead men singing that we'll present for that. Not so much slack key, although we are playing slack key. It's just the sound that you have Hawaiian men singing in full voice.
Uahala oe e kuipo, ka he ana ia oe, i ka lipo lipo o ka po, pane mai, pane mai. O maha oe i kuoli, honi aku a honi mai, e aloha au ia oe, pane mai, pane mai. Huli huli ko kino, ume hana i ka lahi, ki pune ia ka ua me ke aloha, pane mai, pane mai. vela vela nui pane mai huli huli kokino umehana I ka lai ki puni ia ka hua me ki aloha pane mai huli huli kokino umehana I ka lai ki puni ia ka hua me ki aloha pane mai pane mai pane mai pane mai
I've invited a very dear friend, friends I should say, Vicky Takamine, who's a Kumu Hula. She teaches up at UH also, but she has her own halau.
I first met Peter when I started to teach at the University of Hawaiʻi music department. I'm a lecturer there, so I teach hula. We started to do Orvis Auditorium end of semester pauhana and recitals. So Peter would come and set up the sound system for us. I didn't know he played slaki. I just thought he was the sound man. And then I found out he wrote a book on slaki and that he was teaching slaki at the university. I didn't know that. He's hidden in the corner at the University of Hawaiʻi music department, and nobody really knows how really good of a slaki player he is. So I said, well, can you play? Can you bring your class and bring your class to play for us? And I just heard his voice, and it was an old sound, an old style slaki guitar, an old style singing. His voice has a little, you know, that little old chant style of kuolo going in his voice, that vibrato that he sings with. It just sounded so cool. So I said, wow, why can't we do a hula? Can we do a hula? And I had a mele that I was thinking about, and I thought, you know, this would be really cool with a slaki behind. So I asked him if he would play slaki music behind one of the songs that we did. And every semester we invite him to be a part of our end of semester recital.
When we think about the rhythms, the natural rhythms of slaki, they actually go back to the rhythms of hula. And of course they draw from the hula repertoire, but it's something beautiful to see. You don't often see it. Whereas it used to be commonplace, that doesn't happen so much nowadays. And so I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where I can be of service to Vicky folks.
We've been working with Peter for several years now and asking him to share the stage with us and teaching us a little bit about slaki as we teach him about hula, and how that relationship between hula and slaki has evolved over time has also been our relationship. So we kind of understand each other, and he'll walk in the semester early on and what we're doing this year, what we're going to do now, you know. So I'm throwing out, well, how about this song? So I think that I have increased his mele. I kind of stretched him to think that, can you think about this? Can we do, I think this year we want to do Uanani o Nu'uanu. I don't think he's done it in slaki. I think the melodic line would be perfect for him for this kind of song. So I introduce songs to him, and he'll bring mele from his collection, and we'll kind of share back and forth. So as we expand our music vocabulary, both of us are learning from each other. So I will then, oh, I've never choreographed that before, let's try that one. Or can you do this one? This one, I hear it, I hear slaki. I'm not a slaki player and I'm not a musician, but I can hear sometimes in the music, and I can see that that would work. Let's try this.
And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So you're able to see, you know, a halau of 15 to 25 students going through the hula to your music. And it's just really something to behold, something beautiful. Green Rose Hula was a favorite of mine because of Sonny. And it was one of the first songs I learned that he did. And he played it not so much Tunana style, which is basically chalang-a-lang. He picked it out. He picked out the melody and made a very seductive melody and presentation. This is back in, what, 1962, 1963. And it always stuck with me. So that was one of the first Slacky songs I learned was that one. It was written by Johnny Almeida and Lyda Pike, basically Lyda Pike. And Johnny sang it all the time. He was the better known entertainer, so he always got the credit for it. In terms of playing Slacky, it started off naturally enough with my father. He wasn't a natural Slacky player. I mean, he didn't play it all the time, but he could play it, and he knew a couple tunings, a G tuning and a D wahine tuning. He had learned from his mother and his tutu how to play Slacky. So what he passed on to us was the old style. What he passed on to me was the old style, which was good enough for when I was young. But once I heard Gabby, it was like, oh, is that how it's supposed to sound like? And then when the Sunday Manoa came out with Peter Moon, it was another step up. And I was fortunate enough to be mentored by Peter for several years. And our relationship went on for a couple decades. I was also fortunate enough to work and be mentored by Sonny Chillingworth. I mean, working with Sonny it was incredible. It was good. It was a lot of fun. I had become good friends, real close friends with Lico Martin, Lico Hank Fredericks Martin, who was a free spirit. I just hit it off with Lico, and we could just kick back and play music, and he wrote the most beautiful songs. Didn't have a care in the world, and of course I was so young I didn't know that he wasn't working, you know. But he was just working at his music, and he just had the world before him. And he was, with him I played those creator festivals, and it was something else playing in front of these festivals with 60, 70,000 people in front of you. And you're playing just before Santana goes on, you're the last local group. Playing before, you know, Country Comfort, those guys, and it was really an experience playing with him. To see how he could write about Hawaii and write about the things that we cared about. So Liko was a very important influence upon me.
Ke ala o ka rose ua hapa mai Ka maile la ʻUlili o ke kuahiwi Ke ala o ka rose ua hapa mai Ka maile la ʻUlili o ke kuahiwi Ka hala o kai maile a o uka Uhea e ka hua ʻAla kulei Ioe e ke kula e ke kaimana Kumu manako hopo luli luli Avela pono iho ke kahula hili Kumu o kanoho Salia Ikani e ka pio One I ke kula Ana o iho oe O uia Ahina ia mai Kananaka E ala o ka rose ua hapa mai Ahina ia mai Kananaka puana E ala o ka rose ua hapa mai
Another more contemporary type of approach is this song which I'd heard performed in a number of different arrangements, but the arrangement that I like, the song itself is called Kahuila Vai, written by Alfred Alohikea, a great songwriter from the Big Island, but who was mostly known for writing about Kauai. He wrote Hana Hano Hanale, Nā Mele Kama, Kai Havana Vana. Terrific songwriter. Anyway, he writes a song, Kahuila Vai, about the windmill which you could find down in the Alehu, on Ka'u side. Well, not so much Na'alehu, but Waiohinu. The song is actually pretty powerful. We do some trips through it. As simple as it is, it's a very strong song.
mai no ka huila mai aho he vai a e nini huai e hani hani ku ma o no e hoa ku ka ume ka hoa e aloha I ano moli lele I ka lele a hea I ka moana Having this project with Nā Mele has been very, very wonderful because I've been able to work with two of my former students and I hadn't seen them in a couple of years.
I know Peter from a Hawaiian ensemble class I took at the University of Hawaii back in the fall of 2000 or spring of 2001. At the time I wasn't playing bass, but I brought my ukulele to class and we'd go over a few songs that he learned, and being Kamehameha alumni, there was a common repertoire that we shared that he would bring to class that we'd work on.
Mr. Medeiros and I have played on and off since I started and kept a good connection throughout the years, and I guess we get along well.
And so it was interesting when I called him up and he said, yeah, let's play. And so we've had our 10 or so rehearsals, 2 hours each, just jamming and laughing and having a lot of fun, eating a lot of food.
The experience so far has been great. Being at Peter's house, going through the songs, eating some good food right after. And the more you hang around with certain people, the better the relationship becomes. And in Hawaiian culture, food is very important. So it's good to break bread with a group of people after a hard practice or after a performance. It's always good to share in food and drink afterward, you know.
I shouldn't call them kids because they're in their 20s. Well, actually one's in his 20s, the other's in his mid-30s. But it's interesting to see how they've grown up because I knew them when they're in their late teens and watch how they've developed, growing up as young men. And these guys can play. Yeah, they can play like nobody's business. And again, you know, it's a matter of they know their priorities to go into regular work. You know, although Nate is playing, Nate more or less is a pro. He's playing every other week or so. But the main thing is to get your life established and get it going. And that's what they're both doing.
Throughout this whole Nā Mele experience, it's been a blast. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Just meeting Nate, playing with him, he's a really funny guy, and then meeting the rest of the Medeiros Ohana was really fun.
I'm pretty stoked that we're continuing this Nā Mele, you know.
Nani ko olau It's a traditional piece, and it speaks basically about a love affair which took place in Nu'uanu, and in the area leading up, speaks of all the areas within there. It's just a good country foot stomping song. Yes, you have to say that the music is quite seductive. But if you're going to work in music, you don't have to carry the entire risks that go along with it, which means giving up opportunity cost where you could be providing for your family. You have to, if you're going to be a family man, you have to take into consideration that you've got to be able to put a roof over your family, you've got to be able to feed your family, you've got to be able to ensure their welfare. That's the first thing you've got to do, as far as I'm concerned. And it is very, very difficult for a person in the music or entertainment industry to be able to sustain that type of lifestyle as well as provide for their family. You have to remember, when you are entertaining or you're a musician, you become a night person where you're basically at the beck and call of those who want to be entertained, which is usually between the hours of 5 o'clock and 10 o'clock in the evening. That's a hard way to sustain yourself. You don't get to know your family, and you'll see the kids when they come home, and then you'll see the kids when they go off to school. That'll be about it. But as far as seeing them at dinner and finding out how they're doing, it might not happen at all. It all comes down to you taking care of the people who are closest to you. You take care of them. That's just the way it is. I can't think of any other way that I would approach life other than, I think it's inherent that you just take care. You just malama them, and you take care of them. I'm married to Pamela Keiko Matsukawa. We've been married close to 3 decades now. We have one child, Rain, and she's basically, our whole life is focused around her. And it's just been one of the joys of my life has been raising her and watching her grow and become the person that she's going to become. Mokihana Lullaby is a song which was written by Loyal Garner and Moon of the Makaha Sons. And the Mokihana Lullaby is a song which is a very, very sweet song that kind of pulls at me as a parent. It's one of these things where if you had a kid or a small baby or a child, and there are tender moments that you will always remember, and this song just kind of reminds me of that. And it's a very, very sweet song. About 72, I started teaching. I started teaching Slaki consistently at UH. I had full classes. I had classes, 10, 20 people, 3 or 4 of them. And this is when local kids took their music and they played it and they sung it with pride. They just took a good look at themselves and say, hey, we're good. We like our stuff. Didn't matter whether they're Samoan, Okinawan, Filipino, Pake, or Hawaiian. They all sang the same songs. They all sang the same songs. And it's still that way today. We're basically island people. We're all the same.
Aia i Heʻeia ʻAla I ka nalu e ana. Aia i Heʻeia ʻAla I ka nalu e ana. E ana I ta mukula o e ana I ta lala. E ana I ta mukula o e ana I ta lala. Ana ui ki ka hala o ia e kai. Ana ui ki ka hala o ia e kai. A he kuhi he wakona a ia I ta poni. A he kuhi he wakona a ia I ta poni. A hina I ka puanala o halala I ta nukumanu. Aina ka puanala o halala I ka nukumanu.
We're doing a wonderful song which was written by Kānekaiwilani, was Eddie Kamai's grandmother. The song is called Kananaka, and it's about this mermaid who lives out in front of Lahaina. Basically, we're doing this as a hula noho with the halau, and so it's a really, really traditional performance, and it's just so nice. It's so nice to see that.
O ka pā mai a ka mapapa, hale hale mai ana, lai ke ala, e ala ona ona o ka lipo, ana o e a ka nipo, ana o e a ka nipo. O ka pā mai a ka mapapa, hale hale mai ana, lai ke ala, e ala ona ona o ka lipo, ana o e a ka nipo. Ana o e a ka nipono. Nani wale ia pue ole I kana luhe e mai a o Kananaka, kahi a mātoa e ai. I ke hu e hu o ke kai, I ke hu e hu o ke kai. O ka mahi nahi alo aloho, ola ila iana, laina pali, konina vehi ke ona ona, kondima ele ke hino, kondima ele ke hino. Ka mahi nahi ki alo aloho, ola ila iana, laina pali, konina vehi ke ona ona, kondima ele ke hino, kondima ele ke hino. Nani vale ia pue one I kana luhe e mai a o Kananaka, kahi a mākoa pere hai. I ke hu e hu o ke kai, I ke hu e hu o ke kai. O ka pāko nane aka mahina ho ola ila ia nai ka polai koni koni ana i ka hilo koni ma e ele i ke kino koni ma e ele i ke kino o ka pako nane aka mahina ho ola ila ia nai ka polai koni koni ana i ka hilo koni ma e ele i ke kino koni ma e ele i ke kino Nani Mele ia pule hone Kanalu e mai o Kananaka Kahi a mākoa e ai I ka ehu o ke kai I ka ehu o ke kai Nani Mele ia pule hone Kanalu e mai o Kananaka Kahi a mākoa e ai I ka ehu o ke kai
When we look at songs like He Hawaiʻi Pio, which is a song written by Sam Leah, that is straight ahead rock and roll. You know, you'll hear it. It's a straight ahead rock and roll based more or less upon the Rolling Stones, a Rolling Stones type of approach. And that's in there because Nate wanted to do it. It was something that we worked on when we were forming a group earlier. And I guess he liked it. And so I was like, okay, well, we'll add this and see what happens. Basically, you pick up the stuff, throw it against the wall and see what sticks.
Kalana ku home puni vai pi o mena pe anani o ne aina ka kela he hale hali e rore ku hoa like mo I puni hapake Kukuna o ka la ko ka pa ia e ho vino nei puni ka honua au e na lilo lila una ole mai na ali inu ke au Mahua mea ukini, mea unehi o ne aina hula pe I ka hula kai. Ka hia miri ka lima, he Hawaiʻi I ka noe. Aina hia mai ana ka puana no ka lei hapa pua sepania e no ka aina e ki pa mai maha loko hale iwa beautiful home
I'm having a lot more fun playing music now. It helps to have, you know, where I'm living right now, Liberal Ka'apana lives across the street, you know. So when we jam, the music is really good. And for me, when I get to play with him, it just takes me back to when I was playing with Sonny, or, you know, or playing with Liko and others. It's just a good time playing really good music. Getting together with friends and playing, and that kind of takes me back to my dad. That's why he loved to play, because he had all of these friends, all of these creative people, and he'd play music with them, he'd sing their songs, they'd write for him, and they didn't care if he wasn't playing in any showroom or anything like that. He just had a beautiful voice. I've always heard music in my mind, and I've always heard my dad singing, and I can still hear him, you know. So the music now is actually much better, and there's no ego involved whatsoever. It's just a matter of kicking back and playing, having fun, literally having fun, playing. And I enjoy that aspect of it.
Heʻeia wale hoe ka mandu, kuhoa alole o ka pohuandu. Heʻeia wale hoe ka mandu, kuhoa alole o ka pohuandu. Me ole ia hanua I ka manao, ke ko I Nā vai no oe e pukele aku, uli ke me ka liko wa o ka lehua. Ka maka o ka lehua ka mea aloha, ka wehi holu mai maha ka hikina. E honi ka ua e ke aloha, ke nohe mai ni ka pua lehua. Ahina ia mai ana ka puana, goodbye ka ua me ka eha eha. Ahina ia mai ana ka puana, goodbye ka ua me ka eha eha, eha eha me ka eha eha, eha eha.
This program was made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.